Cowboys have finally hired a new head coach. They promote within with offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer after a short head coaching search. The biggest story was Deion Sanders. Is he going to take the Dallas Cowboys job? I know there was talks between him and Jerry Jones, but that was pretty short-lived. Outside of that, nothing really else for other candidates. Listen, they decided to promote within with Schottenheimer. This, to me, is the worst head coaching hire this cycle. We'll see what the Saints do. They're the only team left with a vacancy. But this is by far the worst one. And we're going to quickly go through his resume of him being an OC. He's bounced around through a few teams, and we're just going to look at that right now. I've highlighted a couple of seasons that were good. No question, he was part of that big, the back-to-back conference championship appearances for the Jets in 2010. He had a good season with the Seahawks in 2018, even though the passing yards for the rank was bad, 27. You look at the rushing yards, they were ranked first for total offense. They were ranked 18th, so middle of the pack, and then for points, they were top 10 in that. So I did highlight that as well, again, even though the passing yards were pretty abysmal that season. I also added 2020 as well as 2023, the MVP caliber year that Dak Prescott had. He had a phenomenal year, that on the offense, so it has, there have been good seasons sprinkled in throughout his tenure as a OC. He was also offensive coordinator for Georgia in 2015 as well. It's not mentioned on here. And the quarterback's coach and stuff like that mixed in between. So, I look at this and, is this, for me, again, even though he's had good seasons here and there, I just don't see the success. He's stepping in a position that is, no question, much more stressful than what he's dealing with now. Not just dealing with just the offensive players, but just building a whole roster altogether. You could probably say that in quotation marks because we all know why he got hired. Is he's essentially a yes man. Any person that would really look at Schottenheimer would not take him. There's a reason why no other teams were out there looking for him or looking at him as a head coaching potential. Only the Dallas Cowboys did. This name came out of nowhere. I feel like not too long ago, saying Cowboys could hire him, could promote him, and sure enough, they did. Everyone else's interest, the lack of interest, I should say, in Schottenheimer should really tell you the caliber of OC he is. Again, he's had good seasons here and there, no question about that, but he is not head coaching material. This is just a yes man, a mouthpiece for Jerry Jones, and this is why the Dallas Cowboys keep spiraling in the mess that they are in. This is why they have not made a conference championship since 1996, the last time they won a Super Bowl in the NFL. It's been abysmal, and this cycle is going to keep continuing. No coach with a pedigree like Pete Carroll, or I'm going to even going to say Robert Saleh, even though he's for me, I don't think he did a great job with the Jets, and that's a whole other story about the organization there. All those coaches want to do their own thing. They want to have control. They want to have input in the roster. And it's Jerry Jones that we know he doesn't want to. He's going to be the dictator there. He's going to be the king, however he views himself. He's going to be the one that's going to be in control of everything, the rosters, the decision making. And for me, I don't know what Schottenheimer is going to do. When you have an owner that passes up on Derrick Henry in free agency and says that they're good with what they have in the running back room right now. And you see Derrick Henry almost have a 2,000-yard rushing season, has a decent chance to win Offensive Player of the Year. Arguably, outside of Saquon Barkley, the second best running back in the NFL. Why would you want that as a running back? And there's just countless other pieces throughout throughout the years that they pass upon that they say, oh, we're good within, and it just hasn't worked out. And this is the problem that Schottenheimer is in right now. If he truly wants to be, take this seriously and have success, he's handcuffed to Jerry Jones. I'm sorry, there's very few things he can do. This is what the Dallas Cowboys do. They try and build through the draft, and that's it. They don't go out there and get big players. I think what's the last big trade they made? Amari Cooper years ago in 2018. Maybe there's one, in between, from that point on until now, but I can't think of it because the Cowboys are just unwilling to make those big moves and make those big signings to make this team better. Again, just going to an example for Derrick Henry, just adding a player like that can give you maybe an extra win or two. Depending on the situation, how it's going, that might be the difference of you making the playoffs or not. It's just very little things like that. a player here, a player there can make the big difference like that. When we're talking about caliber players like there, kind of who else you want to name that they pass up on throughout the years. This is the problem that they keep running into. They don't want to spend the money because Jerry Jones is just, I don't want to say selfish. He's just, he's cheap. I mean, whatever name you want to put it, for the most valuable sports team in the world, it really doesn't feel like they run like that. And, again, this is another indication of Schottenheimer being promoted when nobody else was going after him. When this just seemed like a typical Dallas Cowboy move in this one. You look at 2020, this 2025 offseason, they have some big decisions to make. Not that they're, it'll be players you're letting go, but Brandon Cooks, I mean, you're going to have to find someone to replace him at the wide receiver too, even though he hasn't been phenomenal, but you have to still find someone to replace Brandon Cooks at wide receiver 2 at age 31. Zach Martin's got up there in age, just turned 34, but that's still a huge void to fill if he's gone, even though he's had, maybe the play has tapered down a little bit, injuries have really ramped up. That's still, that's a future Hall of Famer that's leaving the door that you have to make a decision on. DeMarcus Lawrence, getting close to age 33. What are you going to do with that as well? Is that something you decide to bite the bullet and let go and try and recoup the money and try and build elsewhere? Do you extend them? You look at the quarterback position outside of Dak Prescott, because you already know there's no dispute he's going to be the starting quarterback after they overpaid him, make him $60 million a year. You have Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. I mean, Cooper Rush could be an interesting decision because of him having to play in spurts here and there, and he's done a solid job, no question about that, being a backup quarterback. So that's a decision making there. Trey Lance, I'm sure they'll probably let walk away. He really hasn't done anything in Dallas, but that's, again, for the backup position, that might be a question mark. Besides outside of Dak Prescott. Eric Kendricks, again, solid player, but getting close to 33. What are you going to do at the linebacker position, and so forth? And you can go on the list, and just that. But priority you have to worry about too is 2026 with Micah Parsons. You still have to get him under contract. You got CeeDee Lamb under contract. You have Dak Prescott, of course, under contract. Now it's Micah Parsons, and what's going to happen with that? That is probably your best defensive player on, I should say that is your best defensive player on that side of the ball. You have to keep him somehow. Is there enough money for that? I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the Cowboys do. Jerry Jones likes to always play that game with the contract extensions and so forth. We saw that with Dak Prescott before the season started. The back and forth. I don't know if I want to sign him. We got to do the best interest for ourselves, and then they sign him at the last moment. So I'm sure that might play out the same way for Micah Parsons. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. And also, too, you look at the mock, the draft right now. They are 12th. It's going to be interesting what direction they go in. Knowing Jerry Jones, and he likes the big names and so forth. I have Ashton Jenney right here. To me, I made a video about Ashton Jenney a couple weeks ago about him and where the destinations where he's going to land. Dallas Cowboys is my number one spot because Jerry Jones, he's a sucker. He likes the big names. This to me is another typical Ezekiel Elliott type of move here. You also have James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Tennessee, that could be available at 12. You have Josh Simmons, tackle from Ohio State. You have Ibuka, wide receiver from Ohio State. Might be a little bit too high for him at 12, but knowing Jerry Jones, who knows? But for me, I kind of pinpoint Ashton Jenney at this spot here most likely. It's Jerry Jones' show. He's gonna pick the players. He's gonna do the best for what's best for him, and not what Schottenheimer wants. And that's just unfortunate, is that Schottenheimer is going to, he's just the low man on a totem pole. He's going to be the one that's going to get screwed over at the end of the day. And to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if he was a one-year head coach, because this just seemed like a desperate move that they knew that all the head coaches were gone, that they probably want. No one else is available. They have to do something. You have to have a head coach in 2025. Jerry Jones ain't going to be running the team as a head coach. So they have to just sign someone in a desperate attempt. And that's what a part of me kind of feels like in this situation. It's just they had to. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And again, I won't be surprised if the coaching cycle next year comes, and depending on who's available, they might fire him and go somewhere else. Who knows? I mean, at this point with Jerry Jones, who knows what he's going to do? But I think this indication, this signing for Schottenheimer being the head coach, I think should really speak volumes of just the dysfunction and how bad the Dallas Cowboys have fallen from what they were in the 90s. A dynasty, winning 3 Super Bowls in a 4 or 5 year period of time, going from that to not making a conference championship since 1996. the only farthest you've gone to is a couple divisional rounds here and there. It's abysmal. That's what it is, and this is going to keep continuing. I mean, I'm not the biggest McCarthy fan, but McCarthy's a hell of a lot more qualified, a hell of a lot more better than what Schottenheimer is. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he'll surprise us all. Maybe they'll have a good season, a bounce back season. Maybe they'll shock the world and make the playoffs. Who knows? But at this point right now, I just don't see that. When you look at even just the division itself, you have the Philadelphia Eagles, who are going to be the number one team still in the division with all the pieces they have. You have the surgence of the Commanders, who we'll see today between Philadelphia and Washington if they can make it. I mean, Jane Daniels is absolutely phenomenal in his rookie season. Probably, certainly you can argue right now one of the best rookie quarterback season of all time. If he makes it to the Super Bowl, that's undisputed if he can do that. So you have that. The Giants, who are going to be getting their quarterback, we would presume in this year's draft, we would like to think that it's going to be Shedeur Sanders because of how I think it's going to play out with Cam Ward being first and either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at 2. So it seems like Shedeur Sanders is going to fall to 3. So Brian Dable, maybe that offensive genius comes back. You have Shedeur Sanders, you have Malik Neighbors now. What's going to happen there? So they might be not going to say they're going to be contending, but certainly going to be another team in the mix that's going to be, certainly be better than they were last year. So you look at that. I mean, you look at the Cowboys. They have Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. So they certainly are going to be in contention with the division, but it's getting tougher. I mean, it's not going to be the years where they can easily, they can make it in because it's a bad year for that division for the Eagles, Giants, and Commanders. It's getting tougher now. It is, and for right now, Schottenheimer is no doubt the worst coach in that division. And they just have, for me, I just look at the Cowboys and they have a lot of question marks on that roster, a lot of big decisions, and unfortunately, I keep saying over and over again, it's not going to be his decision. He's just a puppet. He's just a pawn. It's Jerry Jones who's going to be making decisions, and Schottenheimer has to make it work. And if it doesn't, it's his fault. It's not Jerry Jones' fault. He can do no wrong. So it's going to fall on him. He has to make someone else's mess work. And that's the unfortunate part for him, is that certainly he's getting screwed over in this situation. So I mean, we'll see how the Cowboys do in 2025. I don't have high expectations, nor I'm sure a lot of people do for this upcoming season. Again, maybe they shock the world. Maybe they have a winning season, make the playoffs, but I doubt that. I think we'll be looking back next year, and they're going to be somewhere in this range once again, top 10, a little outside of top 10 where they are right now.